So the JHI Institute, we're a research-intensive organisation, but the research that we do is very geared towards making a difference and having outcomes that are beneficial to society. That means the science has to translate into useful knowledge, useful things, useful products and services. Commercialisation is sometimes the most effective way to actually achieve that. It's not the only way, but it's when you have to do that at pace, commercialisation can be one of the best ways of making that all happen. So we think about commercialisation as having greater impact.
I think historically people at JHI would tell you we haven't been great at commercialising our research, particularly in terms of turning it into companies. I think we've actually got a really good history of providing very good commercial services to companies in different ways. We've also got a very, very aggressive growth plan for the next 5 years, where we were hoping to double revenues. And the plan is to take the revenues associated with new business ventures from almost nothing to a pretty significant number, up towards the kind of $1 million or so in that time.
It's one other impact that comes out of science. And actually, it's the ultimate impact for me that comes out of science. We publish papers and we see them as impact, but actually, true impact comes from commercialisation. You commercialise, you're then creating product, process, systems that are impacting people's lives. So you're impacting jobs, economy, profitability, ultimately people's quality of life. There is no greater impact for me.
There's a number of sort of areas where there are barriers. I mean, there's barriers around people and their sort of behaviours, attitudes, culture, and that's not to blame people. It's just that we've grown up in a different way, looking at academia in a different way, and there's a need to adapt. And it's not about adapting once and forever. It's about adapting when you have to achieve the outcomes that you want at the right time.
There are a number of systemic challenges that we face as an institution, which also I think relate to other universities in terms of generation of ventures from innovation centres. And one of these bottlenecks is people. So there's a real shortage of entrepreneurs in the agri-tech, climate tech sector. The second challenge that we're facing is specific funding gaps, particularly funding gaps for technologies that go post TRL4 towards market readiness. And that's classed typically as the valley of death because it requires different levels of capital investment support.
The original purpose in my head of this Wayfinder program, what I was hoping we would get from it was just to noise up and educate a few people inside JHI, inside the Institute, scientists who probably would describe themselves as scientists and not entrepreneurs for sure. Well, they certainly would describe themselves as scientists, not entrepreneurs. And I just wanted them to get a bit more awareness of what an entrepreneurial mindset might look like. That's what I was hoping we might get from this. We've achieved a lot more than that, and we'll come on to it, right? And so much more that I'm absolutely delighted. But that was the original aim, was just to try and kind of seed a few ideas, just get people thinking slightly differently. Kind of the first step of a kind of culture change in the organisation, to go from what has historically been a civil service mindset research, of effectively government sponsored research, to something which is looking quite different and thinking about using their ideas and their experience in a different way. And then in the wider sense, we did open up Wayfinder to the broader kind of Tayside community. You could see the energy in the room there and the enthusiasm for much broader collaboration, and actually what I liked yesterday was the kind of celebration of each other's successes a little bit there. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like a competitive space at all yesterday. It felt like a win for you is a win for me.
Yeah, so the Wayfinder program, so when we approached this with you guys, Research Venture, to design a program, it was really in relation to doing this sort of early commercialization work and commercialization training, because we haven't run any commercialization training programs before at James Hutton Institute, and we wanted to run something that would engage scientists, get them more actively involved in looking at their science from a commercial lens.
I don't think we would have expected to have two applications totaling £30 million of a potential investment coming into the region, and a lot of that coming into our institute, as part of what we did with you when we had those first conversations.
The changes that we've seen from the beginning to the end is just transformatory. And, we've got sort of investment ready proposals that were presented to investors at the Innovation Summit.
So the outcomes have been fantastic. We've got something solid, something that's going to not just be here for the next 2 or 3 months in one application. It's built a platform and confidence and connections locally that I'm sure we're going to be developing further in the next few years.
It jumps between the kind of inspirational and the prosaic, right? It goes from, look at this amazing thing you can do, and by the way, tomorrow you're going to have to just do this, this, and this, and then at the end of the week you'll be further on than you were last time, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a really simple way of approaching something, but everyone gets it and it works. And I think people have just recognised now that, okay, this isn't beyond me. There's just a way that I can go forward. So that's one bit of learning, is that first bit of engagement is hard. It was much, much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I'm not sure. I think the approach you took was good, and I think maybe our side of it was we probably need to be a bit more proactive to try and find people that this idea that if you build it or if you put on a show, people will come to it. No, they won't. Then it's not going to happen. Not in our environment as it stands. Give it maybe 2 years' time, maybe we will have people queuing up and we'll have to turn people away. I don't know, but that's a good one. I think. Wider environment, I suspect the same problem's going to happen, and I guess most of this is about capacity, right? It's one thing having an idea that you think you might be able to take through to some sort of commercialization, but if you don't have the capacity to focus on it, then actually it's more annoying than anything else. It just sits there in the back of your mind thinking, there's an opportunity here that I'm missing, and so somehow we've got to find ways of freeing up people's time.
One of the investors talking about, you can have a fantastic idea, but if I don't think that team's right, I won't invest. Now, your innovators rarely consider that aspect, or actually that innovation person. I work with this person, and suddenly the investors go, oh, I know him and I do trust him. Suddenly, the value of your idea has gone up, or your investability has increased.
I think one of the surprises that's come out to me out of this program is that there was global outreach. So, we had people that logged in from the US and people that logged in from Africa to take part in this program. And I think that really sort of rams home the importance of this and the fact that we need this sort of sector specific training.
When I talk about us not being very good at commercialising or spinning out in the past, one of the things we seem to expect people to do is commercialise and spin out a company in their marginal time, and that's just madness. There's no way that's ever going to work. You have to have somebody's time on this, and we've got very, very busy academics that have another job to do, which is the research that they've been funded for and trying to find more funding for that research for the next few years. And so fitting this in the odd half hours here, there, and everywhere that you might find during a week, which don't really exist either, is a bit of a challenge.
What I would say is that this is this is a call to action. I think we don't want to lose the momentum that we've built up from this Wayfinder program. We've got all these partners together that are highly engaged and interested in starting and establishing an ecosystem in the Tay region around climate tech. We've got a really good proposition and proposal that thinks about things holistically and it's not like any other venture builder, catalyst or incubator that's out there in the UK that's focused on climate innovation. It's thinking about things holistically. It's providing it all together under one region. And, we don't want to lose that momentum. Let's continue going.
I knew, having worked with you in the past, I knew it was going to be fun, right? I knew this was going to be, and I knew that nobody coming to any of the sessions was going to be bored, right? That was never going to happen. There was always going to be, it's going to be good pace. It was going to be entertaining, inspiring. And I was fully expecting it to be useful. And that all turned out to be exactly what I thought and more. Because I think the approach you took, this idea, and I said it yesterday, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And that's what this is really. It's just like we've got all these complicated ways of working, and you really helped us, you helped the teams focus on what they needed to do to go from from today to tomorrow to next week, and a bigger plan beyond then. What I wanted was a few people to come, well, a lot of people, as many as possible within the institute, to come along and listen to some interesting thinking around how to commercialise academic research, and then go away and maybe over the next 12 months or so, just have a slightly different mindset. If you jump forward to what actually happened, we've ended up with 5 really strong pitches, I think, for all of which had potential for investment. I was approached at the end of the day by our executive director of science, the guy that is in charge of all of our 5 departments, who kind of first of all admitted that he wasn't quite sure what this was all about to begin with. Didn't really get it. He did come to the first event and he enjoyed it. He said it was good. Still wasn't quite sure what was going to come for the rest of it, what we were going to achieve from the rest of it. And at the end of yesterday, he just said, I get this now. I really understand what you've done here. It's really good.
We're changing as an institute to embed much more of that plan and support to commercialise people's ideas early on. The portfolio of opportunities is expanding, and we need to be there to support the next generation of innovators to go where they want to go.
Some people, didn't know that they could commercialize their work, and at the end of it, they had an investment-ready pitch that, with Yulin, for instance, there's 3 investors already reached out to her to say, can we partner on this? Can we invest in you? And equally, some other researchers that went through this program, so Nick and Alexis, they understood that they had a commercial opportunity, but they just didn't really know what the next steps were to take. And I think sometimes it needs to be broken down to make it clear instructions and clear steps to help them navigate that journey. And I think the program really delivered on that. And I think what I'm most proud of is the fact that we gave them new knowledge and skill sets in sort of commercialization to help them with their research and help maximize the impact and value of their technology.
If you jump forward to what actually happened, we've ended up with 5 really strong pitches, I think, for all of which had potential for investment. They're not finished articles yet by any stretch, and there's still a lot of naivety, I think, in there. But I was incredibly proud of the 5 that stood up, and some of the ones from inside the hut, and I thought were absolutely excellent, and I really was very excited. And I didn't expect us to make that much progress.
I thought it was a fantastic event. It brought together local authorities. So we had local councils there. So we had Dundee City Council, we had Perth and Kinross Council, we had Scottish Enterprise there. We had a number of different investors there. So we had 4 different investors there, which is for the first time, I think, at the James Hutton Institute, if we brought 4 investors together in a room to present propositions. So, I think that worked really, really well. And we had, local businesses and, more regional businesses present there. And we also had tech transfer offices from different universities, Abertay University, St Andrews University. We had researchers from University of Dundee and from Abertay and from James Hutton Institute. So we had a real mix of individuals across multiple different institutions and sectors. And for the first time, I kind of felt like we were an ecosystem working together collaboratively. To get all those people in a room, it was energetic, and they were really engaging with what we're trying to design and develop here as a vision. And I felt that this event was really the start of something much bigger.
I mean, it's clearly identified benefits to the James Hutton Institute. We've it's been able to cultivate and encourage a couple of more entrepreneurs from our science cohort, for example, and they're really excited and feel they've learned a lot through the program. But it's also allowed us to connect with the ecosystem locally in the Tayside region.
We've now created together plans to create a climate tech innovation centre And what that's doing is pooling on skills of innovators and companies from around the region. This is playing on and it's globally, this push for place-based innovation. We've actually seen altruism at work. People can see where they can feed in and actually benefit from stuff coming out. They're experts in their own area, but actually working with others, particularly in a local scenario, they can see the benefits. And to be honest, the Wayfinder thing has really catalysed that. And a bit of success in there will see it replicate into other aspects of the local and greater economy.
So one of the things we didn't really highlight at the Innovation Summit was that we achieved a lot with a very limited amount of budget. So £38,000 isn't a huge amount of money. Yeah, we had 6 months to deliver that program, and we engaged with a lot of people. We got 5 investable propositions coming out of that program, and I think we could do a huge amount given 20 million in 5 years to do it.